Okay, so welcome officially to the session, everyone. Great to have you here. So today we're going to start off by having a look at the 10-step letting go process, which is a powerful summary of the entire course's teachings. When I started the course, I wanted to try and put it into a process that would be quite simple and systematic for people to work through. And so this 10-step process came to me a few iterations later. And I think it's quite powerful. It incorporates really the metaphysics of the course and a step-by-step process of how to forgive anything, even the worst possible things that have happened to you can be forgiven or let go of through this process. So it's in your course manual. I'll share the screen now. You can read it. There's two versions of it. There's just a version where you read it and it gives you the guidance to do it in your mind. And then there's a version where you can do it in writing. And it's also incorporated into the guided letting go theta meditation, which you've hopefully been doing every morning. So that 10-step process is in a meditation as well. So going through it it's a powerful way to really heal deep-seated stuff. If there's some really deep-seated issues that you're struggling to let go of, this process works, and you can do it in writing to make it even more powerful. If you write it out, and the writing is kind of quite cathartic when you write it out rather than just doing it in your mind. Okay, so let's share my screen with you. Okay, can everyone see see that? So
yeah,
I think let's make it interactive. So who would like to read? To read paragraph by paragraph, make it more interactive.
I can start if you like.
Okay.
The 10-step letting go process. This process is profoundly effective in releasing any judgmental, fear-based thoughts and disturbing emotions about people and situations in your life. Practicing it repeatedly will help you to see only the perfection in the apparently negative experiences you have had, because you'll understand that they really offer you the opportunity to let go of your own negativity, which I'll refer to as the ego, and find the love, peace, and happiness it obscures.
Okay. So it's a profoundly effective process in releasing these judgmental, fear-based thoughts, any disturbing emotions. So it might seem to be impossible if you're in a dark space, if you're dealing with deep-seated trauma, but you can let go of any negative thought or emotion using this process. You're just willing to keep doing it whenever you become aware of ego thoughts and emotions. I can't do this for you, but I can give you a process that I know works and guides you in how to use it most effectively. So just ask yourself these questions right now. And just pause. So close your eyes, breathe in. So how much do you want to live a life that is totally free from guilt, fear, anger, and other negative states? So answer honestly. Let's see what comes up. How much do you really want to live a life? It's totally free. We're talking about a total freedom, not a little bit of guilt and fear and anger thrown in. Total freedom from any negativity. So how much do you want that? And then exhale. If you found any resistance to truly desiring, then try and let that go. What could be more desirable than this? Say anything else that's worth more to you. And ask yourself as you breathe in again, am I willing to let go of any sense of being a victim to do this? Am I willing to be totally free of this victim identity in order to live guilt-free, fearless, peaceful life? That means you can never feel unfairly treated, hardly done by, attacked, resentful, angry, bitter, so on. None of those thoughts and emotions, which you may have indulged in quite a lot, are able to be experienced. You have to let them all go. So exhale to help you in that letting go process. Blowing away any victim thoughts like dark cloud leaving you. Follow stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Now one more breath. Ask yourself on the inhale, do I really want to be happy? A happy, peaceful, and loving person who is able to help, able to inspire and help others. I really want that above all else. And listen for the answers. If the answer come up, if you find any resistance to that, then dismiss it as the insane idea of the ego that it really is. So when you exhale, maybe you can let it go, blow it out to the breeze of your breath. So just consider your answers to those questions. Honestly, these questions are really all the same. Will hopefully get you to see that there really is no other way but to choose to let go of your ego and be happy. The only alternative is to choose to be miserable and unhappy, which is clearly insane. And what you're doing every time you allow the ego to control your thoughts and upset you. Don't worry if the magnitude of this undertaking seems a bit overwhelming at the moment. Just do the process. Whenever you notice the ego arising, you'll automatically be making the right choice. So it is said and so it is done. So when you're ready, just open your eyes. Yeah, so any feedback on that? Did anyone get some resistance? You want to share anything?
Oh, I can.
Mm-hmm.
It's only recently that I made a decision to stop being a people pleaser. And it's very hard for me to say no. And I mean, I will help people, but I'm starting to realize that a lot of it is put on in order to engage or to shirk responsibilities. I'm pulling back a little bit in helping people because, and my family too, who are quite able to get things done and are quite powerful and positive. But I can see my habit of wanting everything to be harmonious and perfect. And so I step in and offer help, and then I'm noticing this resentment. And so I'm starting to actually pull back and try and change that habit of always being there for everyone, all the time. And that's why I have such resistance to willingly just go in and do the healing work one-on-one. I've done that for too long, and I can see now that it's my own fear of conflict and fear of upsetting people and fear of speaking out. It's easier just to say yes and go with things than to stand up and say no. I did it this morning with the blind lady. She needed some nausea tablets for traveling in the dial ride to Mitchell's Plain tomorrow. She gets dizzy going around the corners and stuff, and she has some important work to do with a tenant in her house, so she can't arrive there and be sick. And she just asked me very nicely, was I going to go to the village? And I said, no, I have no intention of doing that today. Wow, did I watch myself feeling guilty and selfish, and how dare I not help her out? And then I phoned the chemist and asked them if they would deliver, and the delivery charges were higher than the medication that she wanted.
Right.
And I thought, no, this is pushing me and prodding me to cave. And then my boyfriend phoned and said he's coming, and he lives near the pharmacy. I said, oh, won't you go and get it? And I considered that a miracle because I could stick to my guns and not.
Yeah. So it worked out.
It was very hard for me. But in the end, I thought, wow, what a miracle. It wouldn't have happened if I had just said yes.
Yeah, so these are the lessons. So when you asked yourself those questions, did you find some resistance to that? Living a life that's totally free from guilt.
Yes.
Because who would you be if you had no guilt and no people pleasing intentions and so on?
Yeah, I'm getting angry reactions from people. I can't handle anger and criticism.
Because that's what this process will do. If you run anything through this process, those things can't sustain. You will clear it. Might need to do it a few times, depending on the how deep seated it is. But this is applying the entire course, all of the teachings in the course into a 10-step process that is very, very powerful. It will undo any ego thought and emotion. So thanks for sharing that, Christine. Anyone else? Did you get any resistance to those questions that I asked?
I didn't get any resistance. I was all for it 100%, but the default is still that misery going into the past. Still got that in me, yeah. So, but certainly no resistance. I was like, yes, 100%. So I just have to keep saying.
The resistance shows up in other ways. You know, it's when your mind is still thinking about the past. That's resistance.
Yes. Yeah. So it's still there.
Lurking there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And then, you need this process to clean that. That's the whole point. If there's resistance, then that means you need the process. If you had no resistance, then you're probably pretty free.
Yeah.
But the process may not be that helpful. If you've already let go, then you don't need to do a process that's going to help you let go. So some of that deep-seated trauma that I know you all have, we've discussed it. That kind of thing, it works quite well with this process. So kind of a deep clean of that trauma. So you could do the process with that, that trauma, and run it through these 10 steps, and that's likely that you will let go of a lot of it. And you just keep doing it. You might need to do it a number of times, but it's really going quite deep into the mind to let it go on the deepest level.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Any resistance to any of that? We'll share anything. Otherwise, we'll go into process number 1. Okay. Who wants to read? Susie's read. So maybe Elaine, acknowledge the negative thoughts and emotions. You can read that paragraph for us.
Oh, we're going to number 1, not the...
Yeah.
1, acknowledge the negative thoughts and emotions. Bring to mind the thoughts and emotions about the situation and person or people involved that are disturbing your inner peace. This step is essentially to start the letting go process, because denial of negative thoughts and emotions leads to repression and suppression of them, which means that you are not consciously aware of the thoughts and emotions and cannot move to step 1 of the process.
We've just said 2, the next step. So you must acknowledge it. Acknowledge the apparent negativity. Otherwise, you just very easy to kind of metaphysically ghost over it, or spiritually bypass it. Okay, so it's all illusion, so it's fine. So I don't really look at it. I don't really feel it. I don't really experience it. And that's really what this course is about. It's about really, going into it and being willing to look at it honestly, because then you're in a position to let it go. If you don't really look at it, then you're not aware of it. Then how do you let it go? It's still actually in your subconscious. So that's the methodology, which is, in alignment with what the course is teaching. It's saying you must look at your darkness. You cannot escape from darkness by not looking at it. And then correct it. You don't dwell on it, but you must become aware of it, and then choose to let go of your mental and emotional attachment to it. So that's step 1. Base step: acknowledge the negative thoughts and emotions. If you don't do that, then the process doesn't start. And Interesting, because that's the first step in the Alcoholics Anonymous program as well. You must acknowledge you're an alcoholic. Because if you don't, you deny the problem and healing can't happen. So you have to acknowledge the problem in order to undertake a process to heal it. See? Ultimately, it's already been healed, but the process requires that there's an acknowledgement to kick the process off. So remember, we're working to correct error on the level at which it was made. Within the mind, within this construct of the ego, you think you've got these negative thoughts and emotions. They seem to be very real to you. Well, that's where we start. So you must acknowledge those as your starting point, and then you can move forward from there. Okay, so is that clear to everyone? A very important step, which is in every forgiveness process, every breath break, every meditation we do, there's an acknowledgement. Okay, become aware. So scan your mind, become aware of what the thoughts and emotions are. Okay, so number 2 then is awareness. Leads nicely from acknowledgement to awareness. So be aware. Who would like to read that?
I'll read it. To be aware. Be fully present and aware of these thoughts and emotions, remaining somewhat detached and not letting yourself react emotionally to them so you don't sabotage this process. See yourself as separate from the thoughts and emotions you are observing in the mind of the poor person you thought was you previously. This is the beginning of the full realization you will one day have that you are not really this person at all.
Yes, so pause it there. Any thoughts on that? That sort of makes sense. Yourself separate from the thoughts and emotions, observing in the mind of the person you thought was you.
Sometimes the emotions so quickly comes without a thought, it's just there, isn't it? The emotion. So you have to think, what was I thinking about? So it's very quick, those emotions to arise. So you've got to be quick on the draw.
You can witness it. So the emotion is there, but there's a sense of a witnessing presence.
Yes.
This awareness just watches it. So, okay, so there's that going on, but I'm not so identified with the emotion that I think the emotion is me.
Right.
And that's a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
I can detach myself. It's almost like I'm looking at a character. I look at this character called Elaine or Sally or Susie or Christine and go, this isn't really me. It's just a character. Thoughts and emotions going through the character's mind are not ultimately true. Just part of a dream world. Okay, so any other thoughts on awareness? It's the observer, it's the witness, that you can rise above the battleground. Yes, it says rise above the battleground in the text. And just observe from that higher perspective the drama of life and your life and what unfolds, without getting attached to it, without making it real, without engaging in this emotional drama yourself.
I've got this thing going on where I observe Sally having the experience. I observe the thoughts that she is taking on, and I feel really compassionate to her. And that really helps me see it that way around. So I'm experiencing it. I'm still very calm and peaceful. I'm also aware of what thoughts she's having. That's been a new way of doing it recently that works well.
Mm.
Because then she's
So
not, it doesn't feel like she's isolated on her own having this experience with no help. You know, me as awareness is with her, and we work together on it.
Yeah. Well, that voice, that higher awareness, is the Holy Spirit. It's able to look with awareness, but with compassion, with empathy. So, okay, I understand. I understand it's the human story. It's the human condition. We all have we all have that side to us. But it needs to be undone, ultimately. You know, gently, kindly. It's not like you go to war with the ego. It's just a reinterpretation. It's an undoing, a reinterpretation that this process of acknowledgement and awareness kicks off. So you're able to look upon your story and realize it's just a story. You're just another character in the dream. The awareness that's looking on is the awareness that transcends time and space. So we look at the timeline here. Above the battleground, you're in this awareness, and now you look upon the devastation of your life. There's a quote from the Course. When you look on the devastation of your life and you recognize that it is not true, that's the miracle. And that requires an awareness that is beyond the self, the separate self. To see the devastation of your life and recognize that it's not true and that it's okay. Just witnessing it doesn't really matter. You're not pulled into a whole maelstrom of negative thoughts and emotions about the devastation of your life. Coming from that, pure formless awareness of perfect love. So awareness is essential to that, to God. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is God. So it's how that awareness then translates into this world, which is the blue arrows here, which is the Holy Spirit. Just allowing you to have that higher level perspective and observe without getting involved. See, the ego wants you to get involved, that's the red arrow, and pull you down and identify with the character, the situation, and the character experiencing. And the Holy Spirit says, no, you don't want to do that. You're not really a character. You are this fundamental awareness that is above all of it. So you can witness your life, apparently, your life, and someone else's life with equal detachment, because you see them both as unreal.
What's helped me also is that I can view Sally as picking up on these thoughts and beliefs that are not who she is, or they're not hers. She'd think these thoughts and own them. And from this kind of viewpoint, looking at her, I can see that she just took on these beliefs that she thought were hers to own, and they're not. And that really helps as well, that, the ones we've chosen are not ours. They're just floating around in the ether, and we might latch onto some. So they're meaningless. They don't need to be held on to.
Yes.
Well, there's that thing, there's a teaching that says own it. You've got to own your mistakes. What they really mean is it's not the best use of language, I don't think, because it makes it sort of too permanent, and like, these are now yours and you get attached to them. It's an acknowledgement. Okay, I acknowledge that's an error. I see it, and then I move to the corrective step immediately. Awareness starts correcting it immediately. So this would be, the equivalent of owning it, but I don't use that language because it's way too attaching language. You own something, well then you're going to own it and then you're going to let it go. No, just acknowledge it, be aware of it, but immediately realize that it's not really you. That thoughts and that emotion has been experienced by someone else. It's another character. Not really. So the awareness shows you that. Gets you to start detaching from the person. which is essential. That's what this process ultimately leaves. You know, you're not the person, you're just pure formless awareness of perfect love. You thought you were a person, now you've awakened from that nightmare. So thinking you're a person when you're pure formless awareness is complete distortion.
No.
Okay, so any questions? And then just breathing deeply. So do you want to finish reading that, Christine? Breathing deeply. Christine, you still there? Breathing deeply through your nose and raising your eyes to look upwards.
Sorry, I was reading away there. This is the beginning. I'm there. This is the beginning of the full realization you will one day have that you are not really this person at all. Breathing deeply through your nose and raising your eyes to look upwards while keeping your chin parallel to the ground will help you to keep your mind clear and remain aware of your thoughts without involving yourself emotionally in them.
But just try this trick. It's quite a nice little mind trick. If you raise your eyes to the ceiling, keep your chin level, take a breath, and just look up, like I'm doing. I'm demonstrating. You know? So you look up at the ceiling. Watch what happens to your mind.
Yes, I've done that. Every time it's very, very clear. It works like a charm.
Yeah. So it's something to do with the way our mind is wired up and the neocortex. I don't understand the mechanics of it, but it does seem to work.
It's the EMDR, you know, parts of the brain linked to the retina of the eye. Up certain things. So if you're looking up, it's obviously something that clears that part of the brain that's feeling confused.
Yeah. So it's a nice little trick you can use to just clear your mind. If you're struggling and lots of thoughts and emotions going on, and you want to get to clear awareness, just taking a breath in and raising your eyes to the ceiling. At this point in the process can really help to create the clarity, the space really. You know, so what we want, awareness is spacious awareness. It's the space in your mind for now these thoughts of the Holy Spirit to come in and reinterpret. And you need the space. If the ego is so dense and there's just all these egoic thoughts and emotions going on, then it's going to be difficult for these kinds of alternative thoughts from the Holy Spirit to come in and penetrate on any level. And if you struggle with this, you can do the 10-step letting go meditation or the theta meditation to get you into the state of awareness before you start the process. So you have a 20-minute, 25-minute lead-in on our theta meditation where you're in an altered state. You should be quite deeply in meditation, quite aware when you get to this process, and then it's going to be easier. But you can do it just from scratch and without a meditation, but then just take a minute or two at the beginning here to acknowledge and be aware of following these steps. And an easy way is take a couple of deep breaths in and just raise your eyes to the ceiling. And that tends to blank the mind, get you into the state of awareness, then allows the rest of the process to unfold.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Only a pleasure. So, any questions on number 2? Be aware. We'll move on to number 3. Who wants to read 3? Sally, can you do that?
Remember that it's an illusional dream. Remind yourself that the world and your changing perception of it, including this situation that seems to be upsetting you, is an illusion, a dream created by your ego mind to reinforce its false, fearful identity. The dream is not real, and it is not really happening. So why are you getting upset over nothing? While this step may seem impossible and incomprehensible to you, this is only your ego's resistance to the truth. Just be willing to do the step by thinking that whatever you think and perceive about this situation and the characters involved in it is only an illusion or dream. You will then be telling your mind the real reason it should let go of its attachment to these thoughts and perceptions.
Okay, so any
It always makes me smile about the question about why are you getting upset over nothing? That sounds like the sort of thing an adult says to a child when they're little. Why are you getting upset about nothing? That's from a different position. Yeah.
It's all nothing. It's just to remember that it's all nothing. But you have to remember that when the ego comes calling, it wants you to make it real and get very, very emotionally upset about whatever the dream situation is.
Yeah, it has to be done in this order though, doesn't it? Because if you just say initially, oh, it's just a dream, you're spiritually bypassing it. So it has to be step 1, 2, then 3, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah. You know, you've got to, this sort of came to me and I iterated it a bit, and it seemed like this is the way Yeshua, advises us to do it in the course. It says you must be aware, you must go and you must look, but then the immediate correction process is to remind yourself that this isn't true. So you're bringing in the metaphysics here, because that's the foundation of forgiveness, radical forgiveness. You must understand that it's not real or true. And if you skip that step, without that realization, you can't really do it. You can't really do radical forgiveness. The best you can do is call it halfway or mock forgiveness, where you can say, well, it's happened, but understand that people are difficult, challenging. They've had their own difficulties in life. So I don't judge them as harshly as I did. I understand that they have their own stuff to deal with. That's about the best the ego can do at forgiveness. But this idea that none of it's true or real takes it to an entirely different level, because of it, if it's not real, because of that, you can let it all go. There's no limitation on it. So it's reminding yourself of this. And as I said, if you don't get it to start with, it may seem impossible and incomprehensible, then you just, keep practicing. Because remember, the practice of this process of forgiveness is how you learn this. So you don't fully believe it now, otherwise you wouldn't need to practice. So then you get these opportunities called forgiveness lessons to practice this belief. And every time you do the process, because it's in here, you're practicing the belief. The more you do that, the more the penny starts dropping, and you start recognizing that it is actually the truth. You weren't just faking it and pretending, which is how you can feel to start with. It actually, that insight becomes very real and tangible to you. And Lynn was saying, well, a few weeks ago, she was saying, I don't really get it. I'm not quite there. And now she's starting to get it. And that's what happens. As you practice, it's like things just start to dawn on your mind and say, yeah, okay, I am getting it. But it's a practice. So people say, well, I'm never going to get this stuff, so I'm not even going to do the process. But that's self-defeating, because you need the process to practice these ideas so that you can start believing them more and more, which will ultimately shift your mind into the state of knowledge, which is beyond perception. But now, start with, we're working in the domain of time and perception, and to remember in that it's all a dream is very helpful. So this is still an illusion. It says forgiveness is an illusion, but it's the only illusion that doesn't create more illusions, because you're actually undoing it. You're letting go of your attachment into the illusion. Okay. So any questions, comments on number 3? So this is the foundation of all forgiveness. This is the real reason why you can let it go, why you can let anything go. Because it's part of an illusion or a dream, which is unreal. Okay, number 3, happy with that? Any questions? And as I said, if you don't quite get it, just practice. Go through the step. Make sure you remind yourself that it is a dream. Dream and illusion. Use whichever term you find most helpful for you. An illusion or dream. Some people, illusion doesn't really resonate, so then use dream, or vice versa. Use the language that's going to be most effective for you. Okay, so number 4, remember that it's your projection. Elaine, Susie, Elaine, maybe.
Remember that it's your projection. Moreover, everything you experience is your projection, even if it appears to be outside and independent of you, because there is only one mind that is dreaming the dream of the universe and the lives apparently being lived out in time and space. Whatever someone appears to be doing to you, you are in fact doing it to yourself out of your own unconscious guilt that you have projected out into the illusion stroke dream and manifested in the form of the situation and person who appears to be causing you to suffer and make you a victim. It is our own projections that lead to our perceptions of the world. So it is always you who are responsible for creating your reality.
Okay, so I'm just going to open this. So projection perception. This is the mechanism of the illusion. Have a look at the instrument for peace. So from my desire to be separate, which is unconscious, buried in my mind, I project out. That desire then creates situations, people, circumstances coming in. So it's because it's all part of the quantum field. These things start getting attracted into my experience. So now I have sense perceptions. I get these things showing up in the dream. And then my perception tells me that it's real. But the reason it's doing that is because I have a fundamental belief, underlying core belief. That is separate self. So I'm projecting it out from that separate self, idea of separation, and I'm also experiencing it, perceiving it from that same viewpoint, from that same belief. So I project it out, seems to be real outside my mind, then it comes back in via my perception, and now I judge it as real because obviously that belief is self-perpetuating. That's what's projected it, then that belief is going to interpret it, perceive it, and tell you, yes, the belief's correct. And so that's how we got ourselves locked into the illusion. Because around and around we go, and this gets tighter and tighter as we get older for most people, unless they're doing mind training. They just get more and more locked into the system. And there seems to be no escape. Within its thought system, there is no escape. Projection, perception just carry on ad infinitum. until you're willing to really look and correct the fundamental error, to go beyond the belief and say, no, that belief isn't true. So it's really important that you understand this mechanism of projection perception. We project out unconsciously. That creates a dreamlike world. We then perceive it from a conscious perspective, but we're not conscious of what's going on in our subconscious, in our unconscious. So actually our perception is unconscious. And this is the illusion. This is the veil of illusion that the ego sucked us into. No true awareness. So enlightenment comes when you're willing to challenge the beliefs, thoughts, and emotions that underlie your perceptions. Does that make sense? It's important you understand this, because it's really the essence of the how the ego works, and why it's seemingly so difficult to escape from the dream, because you got this projection perception thing going on. So whatever someone appears to be doing to you, seemingly hurting you, attacking you, doing whatever, your ego wants to interpret it as you're the victim. Well, you can't be a victim if you created it. If you acknowledge that this is my projection, that it's coming from my own mind, I'm not a victim. This is just my own insane mind playing itself out.
Does that go for children as well? Children, that have been attacked, or how would you sort of explain that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
they come in with karma. So when you're born, you have this accumulated egoic energy, egoic thoughts and emotions called karma. And then that's added to by the conditioning. So children have had a few years of conditioning, even if they're just a few years old, of the world. And then, there's a program there. And so it's unconscious. They then, you ask yourself why some kids get sick. They'll come in and they'll get leukemia from an early age. Why? Difficult to understand if you just look at form. But if you understand it's all mind, and they came in with a program, then they have to play that program out. And then that program looks like, well, I'm getting sick. It's a program of, generally that's quite heavy karma. It's a program of I deserve to be punished. I'm a victim. I deserve to be punished. And, so I'll come in and I'll manifest a disease straight away, almost, in order to play out that dream of punishment. So it's essential that you recognize that this is how the ego works. Projects out into the dream, seemingly creates all these dream characters and figures, and then gets you to perceive it as real. Say, oh, well, that's real, it's really happening. And now judge it from the same thought system that projected it, which then just reinforces the whole system. And those kinds of projections will carry on. And what it's really trying to do, this is worth looking at. We're going to study guilt today. Have to go, no problem, Christine. Join us again if you can. We're going to look at guilt today in today's text reading. So this is relevant to that. So if we feel guilty, then we're bound to project. Because what is guilt demand? Guilt demands punishment. So then there's this fear, false expectation of punishment appearing real going on in my mind. But my mind can't deal with that. My mind, it's not a comfortable state. So the ego mind seeks to relieve itself of this trauma, or uncomfortable feeling. And it does that by projecting the guilt outwards. So it says the guilt is not mine. the guilt is someone else's. So they're the guilty one, they to blame. And if I offload my guilt to them, then they will be the ones who are attacked and destroyed by this fearful, wrathful, separate God. So it's fundamental to the nature of the illusion. One of the fundamental ways that it perpetuates is this projection of guilt. You have the guilt, metaphysical guilt, and the sin, at the sin of destroying God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness, which gives the ego its identity. Because we think we already have destroyed that. And now the guilt that we experience is so uncomfortable that we must project it out. And so then we invent a world to do that, where we can accuse and blame and complain and otherwise attack various people, other living forms, life, objects, anything will do. And we feel temporarily better when we attack something else. But it's very temporary, because actually it just fosters guilt. Because you're saying, well, this guilt is real. I've now projected it out in the form of accusation, blame, complaint, and attack. And then I experience it as reality. So this then reinforces the guilt and the sin, reinforces that I'm a separate self. And I actually haven't got rid of the guilt at all. I've just kept it in my mind. Okay, so is that projection perception mechanism clear to everyone? How it works. And why you have to name it. You have to remind yourself. That's why I go through the step. Okay, this is how it works. So it's my projection. I'm seeing someone in the mirror of my life, which is just a mirror for my mind, and they're accusing, blaming, complaining, attacking, doing whatever. Instead of defaulting to my normal position of being a victim, I recognize that I'm doing this myself. The Holy Spirit says, no, you're doing this to yourself. So stop doing it. Don't indulge in it. Recognize that it's just projection, and it's a projection of your own beliefs. Then that reinterpretation means you can't take it seriously anymore. So there's a natural letting go with all these steps. Do you see that? Okay, so any questions on projection? Step 4. So this is, I'm going to say, take responsibility, own it. This is really what they mean. I don't always explicit about it. Okay, it's my projection. I've got this false belief, which is obviously resident in my unconscious. And then that's projecting out, and it's creating these projections.
And that applies to everything and anything. So, like the ringworm.
Yes, there are no
everything.
exceptions. Yeah. Because that's how it works. If you make an exception, then the ego's in business. So I've even heard Eckhart Tolle is a good teacher, but I've heard him say things like, "Oh well, 90% of things are not really." Anything to be worried about. There's only like 10% that there's any genuine cause for worry. But it's like, no, you can't do that, because then you made the illusion real, see? In the exception. Okay, well, there are things where worry is justified. No. This is an all or nothing deal with the Course. Yeshua's saying you accept this entirely or not at all. If you deny it in any way, shape or form, then you deny it entirely, and you must still believe in the ego. So because it's how it works. It's how this whole system, has unfolded, and how it works. Now you're starting to understand it. It's not always pretty. I don't like seeing it, because I recognize the extent of the delusion that I've been in.
So I'm bringing it all on myself. Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, well, you came here. No, there's no accident you're here. No one put you here. You came here. You chose to come here. Based on an idea of separation, based on a desire to be a separate self. So then you brought it all upon yourself through that decision. It may not seem like it from the separated, perspective. That's not a true perspective. That's very limited.
Yeah.
It's like the moment we decided, yes, I want to be separate, I believe in this, I desire this, well, then we kick the whole process off. We're all behind this thought system of separation. We're now trying to unwind from. So is that clear?
Oh, yeah, to me it is. But if it was sort of a victim of rape or something, they wouldn't take too kindly to this, would they? Or
Well,
would they?
it depends on their openness to healing.
Yeah.
Or any trauma. I've been raped, I've been abused, I've been hurt. Well, if you want to hang on to that, you can go, well, this is done to me. I didn't deserve it. I was maybe an innocent child. And you can hang on to that story. And the ego will love that because it gives you a separate identity. Perpetuates this whole thought system. But if you're really willing to be healed, then you have to go here and say, okay, it's my responsibility. I projected it. I created it on some level, just not consciously. No one says consciously, oh, well, I think I'll attract a rape today, or being physically attacked or abused. No one does that consciously. But it's unconscious. It's the unconscious mind that's doing all of this. And so they've been thinking unconsciously thoughts of guilt and sin and fear and attack. And then that has to manifest.
Yeah.
So only in taking full responsibility, 100% responsibility, can you find freedom. Otherwise, you're a victim to some extent or another. Like Eckhart's, there's about 10% of things that will maybe, should cause you some concern or fear or worry. No, it's just because then you remain a victim.
Yeah, well, my friend's a good example, the one that's coming here. I mean, she had a son that was murdered, and then just 4 years ago, her youngest son died. And yet she's following exactly what you've just said there. It's a dream. It's an illusion. So she's not taking it on. So she's quite incredible. So yes, I see what you're saying about Eckhart Tolle. Because you would think
you have to, you have to do it completely or not. Otherwise, yes, my son has been killed. Well, that's a genuine grievance then. Then I can't let that go. Well, then you keep yourself enslaved in the ego mind. If you decide you can't let it go. But the metaphysics of this are very clear. You can let go of anything because none of it's true. None of it is true. That's the total freedom.
Oh yeah, well, she's a good example of it. Yeah, no, she's yeah.
So she's applied the course's teachings to it and said, okay. It's all an illusion. They seem to be on this level. They seem to be my sons. So there's some kind of biological special relationship there. And they've died prematurely, and that seems to be tragic. And now I'm all alone, and I don't have my sons. Also, but that's just a story. It's all part of the construct that the ego's invented. None of it's true, and that's the only way you'll ever be free. Because if you make some things true and some things not, well, some things are more important than others, like Eckhart was doing. Well, then something's going to get you, isn't it? The ego's got a way in. Okay, well, forget if you're okay with the 90% of stuff. Well, let's focus on the 10%. Let's give you some traumas to keep you enslaved. And it's only when you say no, it doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what happens, the principles apply. I will not make exceptions to these because the truth is true, no matter what. And therein lies your salvation, because nothing the ego can do can withstand that. That means you can let go of anything, no matter how seemingly bad it is.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay, so you can see, this process kind of engages all the metaphysics, doesn't it? It's the projection, the perception, the illusion. If you go through it, it's like you're actually reminding yourself of the real reason why you can let go in the process. It's because it's not real. None of it's really happened. And that's the only basis for true or radical forgiveness to happen, is that realization. None of it's ever happened because none of it's real.
So what does the Course mean when it says the script is already written? What does that mean? My life's already
Good question.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've heard that one and I keep wondering.
Well, it means that at one moment is a done deal. Your at one moment process is already scripted.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So now the script is written, and all you have to do is let it unfold. So you surrender, you let the Holy Spirit guide you moment by moment to allow that script to play out in your dream.
Right.
So it's a bit like the movie. If you think of movies, which is kind of an allusion to, the script, the movie's already made. So you sit down to watch the movie, 2 hours. It's already there. It's loaded in to the projector, let's say, now we do it digitally, but it's the same idea. It's already there. All the scenes are there. And now it's just got to play out scene by scene in time to make sense. But actually, it's already a done deal. So your enlightenment is already a done deal, but you've got to play it out in time and allow that script to unfold in time and have experiences in time, which seems to be learning. You're now learning what you already knew. So you seem to be progressing in time, but actually you're returning to your original state.
So just
So you
literally surrender.
Yeah. Actually, you're returning. What you're doing is you're taking your mind above the illusion, you're transcending it.
Yeah.
All the time. So whatever happens, you reinterpret the script, then that's going to correct your mind and heal it. So the script is written, but how you interpret it, moment by moment, seems to be a choice. Then you could argue, well, the script is written in the choice as well. If I choose the Holy Spirit, then that was scripted. But the ego is going to go, oh, no, but you could change your mind.
It's mind-boggling.
Hold on. You could hold on. So the script isn't written because you have free will.
You put a pause on it, yeah.
But free will is a delusion, because free will means that I have some other will than God's will. And the ego says, well, this is its most cherished possession. Oh, I have free will, I can make my own decisions. But that will is not free, because that will is the alternate will to God and the Holy Spirit. And that exercising that so-called free will enslaves us. That keeps us in the bondage of time and space and living out a life of separation and all the traumas and the pain and the suffering and the death. So that is not free will, it's actually enslaved will. But the ego will tell you that it's free. You value your decision-making prerogative. You can choose. You don't have to listen to any of this. If you're caught in the matrix, this fake crap, you don't have to listen to any of that. You're in charge of your life. You're in control. You remember what the oracle says to him?
Yeah.
And that's it. So it's dealing, that was dealing with this issue, free will versus fate. It's scripted. Script is written as a kind of fatalistic viewpoint, and the ego will dispute that and say, no, the script is not written because I have free will, I can make choices. And the Holy Spirit will say, yes, but if I'm guiding all of your choices to atone, to wake up, then the script is written. All you got to do is follow the guidance, and then the script will unfold. And the ego is going to dispute that and say, no, I'm in charge. I can choose to change your mind. And the Holy Spirit says, but that's insane. why would you want anything else than perfect love, peace, and joy? And so it goes. That's why there's no conclusive. Philosophers have thought about these ideas for thousands of years, and there's no conclusive conclusion in most of them, because there's a split in the mind. There's different ways of perceiving it. The ego is going to perceive it one way, the Holy Spirit's going to perceive it another. Which is correct? Well, fortunately, we know which is correct, and we know now what the correct perception is. That's what he's training us to do. Okay, so is that somewhat clear? But you see how deep this process goes? It goes right into the heart of the metaphysics of the course. The illusion, the projection, and it reminds you of that. So you actually, remember, forgiveness, letting go, is actually training your mind to accept the truth. So in this, you go through this process, you're training your mind to accept this truth by working practically on the particular situation to let go of. So it's all part of the mind training and learning of this teaching that is really valuable. You're doing it in a seemingly difficult situation where your buttons get pushed, so it's doubly difficult. But that's when you really learn. When you're under pressure. Okay, so happy with number 3 and 4, projection perception, how it works?
Yes.
Okay, and so then number 5, which is have empathy. So who's turned to? I think it's Susie's turning it. Susie, will you read number 5?
Have empathy. Be empathetic towards yourself and all others involved in the situation, knowing that you and they are doing the best they can in their current state of consciousness, and all unconscious, unloving behavior happens because people do not feel loved and is in fact a cry for love. You and any other people involved in the situation need your love rather than your judgment and condemnation, which only makes the situation worse and strengthen your ego to let go of these destructive thoughts and emotions and find the underlying happiness that is everyone's natural state and right.
Okay, so thoughts on that? It's this is kind of halfway forgiveness. So it's not the end of the process, but it can be very helpful to soften your judgment. If you're finding it difficult to let go and there's resentment, recognizing that they're doing the best they can in their current state of consciousness. And all unconscious, unloving behavior happens because people don't feel loved. It's in fact a cry for love. Can help. This is what empathy is. So you soften your judgment, and it's an opening then for the radical forgiveness. Create some space for the rest of the process to happen. To have empathy.
Mm.
So this is what I call halfway forgiveness, mock forgiveness. It's like, it's not the full radical saying none of it really happened, but it's a reinterpretation based on the idea, okay, everyone has got their stuff, everyone suffered. So how can I really judge them and condemn them when I don't really know the journey they've walked? I don't know what happened to them in the past, in their childhood, and so on, to make them like this. So that the first 5 steps should set you up quite nicely to then go into the the last half of the process, which is really feeling the emotions deeply, then letting them go, and then appreciating the perfection, being grateful. Okay, so happy with step 5, everyone? Any questions on that? Can we go to step 6? Step 6 is feel the emotions. So it's really letting these emotions now come up. We looked at them briefly, had a little look, went into awareness, created some more awareness through steps 3 and 4 and 5. And now, even if it's really deep-seated and they're quite dark emotions, you should be in a position, there's enough awareness to allow you to feel them, but not be so caught up in them that you identify with them and just get stuck in them. The idea of the first 5 processes. Okay, so number 6, feel the emotions. Who wants to read number 6? Sally, I think you muted. No. Can anyone hear Sally?
No.
No, for some reason.
No.
I don't know. Do you want to go out, come back in? That'll probably work. Leave the call and come back in. Okay, someone else feel the emotions. Elaine or Christine.
Yeah, okay. Feel the emotions. Feel the emotions evoked by the thoughts you brought up in step 1, fully experiencing all the pain and discomfort of these emotions briefly, while remaining very aware that this is part of a healing process. So you don't allow them to create a downward spiral of negativity from which it becomes hard to pull yourself out. For this reason, spend no more than 2 minutes on this step. Time yourself if necessary to ensure you don't spend longer.
So this is really feeling it. So again, being willing to go and look at the darkness and actually experience the pain and the discomfort. Comes up, you feel it fully for a couple of minutes maximum. Don't want to dwell in it. Because when you experience the pain, then you have huge incentive to let it go. So that's the idea. And it's actually coming up for release. Like you experience that pain. In the experience, there's a natural kind of working out of it, a cathartic effect. Whereas if you bottle it up and you repress it and you don't experience it, then it remains buried in your subconscious. But it's always got this latent potential to come up. So it's okay, let's bring it up. Let's face all the darkness, bring it into conscious awareness, briefly experience it. Thoughts, emotions, body sensations, the whole thing. So this takes courage. Most people have been running away from their emotions all their life. If you look at this level, this diagram, see perception, emotion. So emotion underlies perception. Most people don't want to go beyond the superficial level of perception in their life because they've got these deep-seated emotions and they don't want to face those. They're too uncomfortable. So then they distract themselves. They do everything possible just to keep themselves on the perceptual level without, diving in. But those emotions will come up and they influence perceptions all the time. So now you say, okay, well, let's bring it on. It's a deep-seated dark emotion. Let's bring it up. It's coming into conscious awareness, into this top level. And now, having experienced it fully, I can release it. So I haven't ghosted over the top of it. I haven't pretended it's not there. I've gone into it. I've allowed it to express briefly, and then I consciously let it go, which is the next step. And so don't spend too long on this because you don't want to get really too immersed in those emotions. They have as we know, quite a seductive, dark quality, and they want to pull you down there and keep you there in the negative thoughts and emotion for a long time, as long as they can manage. So you don't want to like perpetuate that and reinforce that, encourage it. Just spend a couple of minutes maximum, just feeling it, and then be willing to let go. If you're experiencing pain, be willing to let it go. Okay, so then number 7, that takes us nicely into step 7, letting go of the pain, which is the second kind of major step in all forgiveness. First step is awareness. If you're doing this in just a 2-step process, it's awareness, number 1, and then letting go, number 2. So who would like to? Sally, you back? You want to give it a go again? Let go of the pain? No, I can't hear you. It's weird. Have you tried your mic settings? Have a look at Zoom. There's a mic setting down below. If you switch the mic to something else, maybe. If you go on the bottom panel, switch the mic. Maybe you can play around with that. Okay, do you want to just listen in, or you could join on your phone? You join on your phone, maybe. Okay, so let go of the pain. Who wants to read that? Christine, maybe?
Shall I read it? Is Christine there?
I don't know. I think she said she had to go out, so maybe she's just left her self-connected. Yeah, if you can read it, thanks.
Let go of the pain. Decide that you do not want this painful, negative feeling inside of you to disturb your inner peace and cloud the awareness of your true, happy self ever again. And choose to release it by letting go of all the effort it takes to hold on to the thought and emotion.
So that's a good point. The letting go of the effort. It takes so much energy to hold on. We don't understand the cost of holding on, because it especially if it's a deep-seated trauma, it's taking so much of our available mental, emotional energy to hold on to that and nurture that and build it, that it's a huge block. It's blocking our energy. It's sapping our energy. Right? These beliefs and emotions are energy vampires. They're parasites that suck our energy. So it's this idea of just letting go, saying, I'm not in charge anymore. I'm willing to let it all go to the Holy Spirit and just allow it to show me what to do.
Breathe in
Okay.
deeply. Yep, thank you. Breathe in deeply and then exhale fully as you do this. Visualizing light flowing into you as you inhale and all the dark energy of thought, emotion leaving you as you exhale. Allow yourself to revel in the peaceful sense of relief and freedom that you will feel as you release the toxic thoughts and emotions that have tormented and enslaved you for so long. Take at least 2 minutes and longer if you feel this is necessary for this step.
Okay, so just use the breath to help you. This is incorporated into all of our meditations, the breath breaks, breathing. There's a natural tendency to let go of thoughts, emotions, energy when you exhale. So you use that to help you. And if you visualize, you can visualize light flowing in as you breathe in, but that's not essential. If you don't visualize very well, then it's more just the feeling. Visualization can help some people just to connect more with the feeling of it. But remember, light is not a physical light. It's actually just awareness. So it's a lightness of your being, a lightness in your mind that is the true light.
It's a good point to remember. Light is awareness.
Yeah, that's why we translate it. Light is awareness, or true awareness, or pure formless awareness. Because what is it? It's not physical light.
Yeah.
Just using the same term, because we're using time-space terms, but light is just this awareness, and it feels light. It actually feels enlightenment is the feeling of feeling light and free. Which happens when you release, when you let go of the heaviness, the darkness, the toxic thoughts and emotions that are heavy. Then, lightness is the opposite. So that's how you know if you've really let go. There'll be more lightness. You feel lighter having done this process, and freer. Okay, so happy with number 7.
Mm-hmm.
So letting go of the pain, go into it, let it go. Use your breath to help you. Don't take more than 2-3 minutes on the step, because you don't want to dwell on the pain. Don't take more than 2 minutes on feel the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
The letting go might be quite quick. It might matter of a few seconds just to exhale, let it go. You might need to do that a number of times. And number 8, appreciate the perfection. So, Elaine, I think. Sally can't speak, so you can do number 8 and 9.
Appreciate the perfection. The mirror of this situation has helped you see and let go of your own pain and negativity. So appreciate the perfection in this apparently imperfect situation. It has brought you unconscious guilt, fear, anger, and other egoic emotions that may have remained buried in your subconscious mind through your suppression and repression of them to your awareness, so that you can be released and you can become aware again of the perfect peace, love, and joy that are your true nature and what you deserve to feel all the time. Don't worry if you struggle with feeling deservable, because it goes against the ego's identity of being worthless and undeserving. Just do the step by reminding yourself that whatever has happened is all perfect in its apparent imperfection.
Okay. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's apparently, been traumatic and difficult and challenging, but it's brought your unconscious guilt, fear, anger, and whatever else that the ego sponsored, egoic emotions, may have remained buried in your subconscious mind through your suppression or repression of it to your awareness, so they can be released. And you can become aware again of the perfect peace, love, and joy that are your true nature. It's all perfect because it's brought it up for you to look at and to release and to heal. So it's a necessary part of the one-minute process. You see how this reinterpretation means that it doesn't matter how bad the trauma is, what seemed to happen, you can actually appreciate it. So your worst situation is your best situation, because it helps you become aware of the darkness of your ego and let it go.
So the worse the situation, the more chance you've got to become you get this awareness. Yeah, like my friend.
Yeah, you can really let it go, like a very deep-seated trauma. If you can really let that go by applying a process like this, and really genuinely appreciate it. So yeah, I genuinely like, yes, thank you, because this has been perfect. This has shown me my ego stuff, and it's tough. It's been tough, but you know, I'm very glad that happened, because otherwise I wouldn't see this, and I wouldn't be able to let it go. I couldn't be free.
Mm.
And there, you know, there are many people who've done it. It's really difficult, challenging traumas. You know, they've lost. Think of Viktor Frankl. I mean, it's a great example.
Yeah.
His whole life's taken away from him. He had a fairly promising career as a psychiatrist. Well, the Nazis came. Okay, that's all gone. All your possessions gone, and all of his family dead, all murdered.
Mm.
He had a wife, newly married. She's died. His parents, his siblings, all gone.
Yeah.
Taken away. So, you know, you could be really bitter and say, what? That's just like, I'm so angry. How could life be so unfair to me? And nurture that, hold on to that grievance for his whole life and be a very bitter, twisted person. Or, okay, he said, this is actually the best thing that ever happened to me. Because through this pain, the crucible of this, was born logotherapy, which was his life's purpose and his life's work. And it wouldn't have come probably if he hadn't had that experience. So he can, you know, appreciate the perfection, the imperfection, and out of his pain was born his purpose. His deepest pain became his highest purpose. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another key for your own purpose. You know, out of your deepest pain is your highest purpose. We become healers. The healers are the people who've been wounded and hurt. But out of that pain, they come into their higher purpose, which is to heal the pain in themselves and in others. And then it's perfect in its imperfection, because they wouldn't have been healers unless they'd had that experience.
Yeah.
So then they can just appreciate it and say, yeah, I'm actually grateful, which is step 9. I'm actually grateful. There's no resentment, there's no anger anymore. There's just gratitude for the worst thing that's happened to me. And really feel that. And if you really feel that, then you know you're forgiven. Then there's only gratitude. This is the litmus test of, you know, have you actually forgiven, or is there still more work to be done? Because if there's any anger or resentment, you won't be able to be grateful. There'll be an edge to it and be like, no, I can't quite say thank you, you know, to the person who's really hurt me. I can't say thank you. Actually, you're my best teacher. Really, I'm grateful, genuinely.
Yeah.
The gratitude is the test. And if you can't get into a grateful state, having done the process, then you probably need to repeat it until you can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who wants to read number 9? Be grateful.
Be grateful. Thank the person or people involved in the entire situation for being your teacher and for giving you the gift of bringing your ego's negative thoughts and emotions to your attention, so you can release them and you can be freed from all the suffering that caused you and others.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
You're right. If you have any other feeling, because I've done it a few times now, and if you do feel resentment, or if it's not been done properly, you can really tell, but you can also sense the effect when you've really done it.
So this is the test, are you genuinely grateful? And I mean, you can't fake this. It's like, you know in your heart. You're not pretending to anyone. It's just like being really honest with yourself. Okay, so how do I feel? Really? Think of the person, usually a person involved. Think of the person, bring them to mind, and then there's a bit of a like, okay, you haven't totally forgiven them. You're not fully grateful. So return. Just start again. Do step one, go again. Do it again. Till you can go, yeah, thank you, actually. Genuinely. Person who's been the greatest thorn in your side, inflicted the greatest hurt or trauma, is the greatest teacher, because they helped you to come to an awareness of this deep-seated ego pattern in yourself, and then to be able to let it go.
Mm.
And why wouldn't you be grateful to someone if they've helped you to free your mind and experience love, peace, joy, happiness, and ultimately eternal bliss? I mean, surely gratitude is due there, because they've helped you to do that. Even if they unwittingly, they might be in the ego and they actually feel quite angry and hostile towards you, but that doesn't matter, because actually in truth they have helped you. So can you be grateful to someone like we talked about Viktor Frankl's experience. Can you be grateful to Hitler for doing what he did, so that you could have your experience? It's a stretch for the ego. The ego won't do it, but
Can't comprehend it, yeah.
But radical forgiveness and unconditional love would say, yes, you absolutely have to. It's a great quote that I once shared in one of my daily quotes, and it was like, if you can't forgive Hitler, then you can't forgive at all. Well, okay. I remember a guy who was Jewish, came up to me that evening. I was playing squash, and he said, "No, John, I really normally like your quotes, but don't send me quotes like that." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, because no, I just can't. It's not possible to forgive them." I said, "Oh, it is. And he didn't want to discuss it, because it's so deep seated in the Jewish psyche, that we've been, the Holocaust, we've been the victims of this. It's terrible. And they keep the story alive. It's part of the identity now. Whereas forgiveness would deconstruct that and say, no, actually it never happened. So why are you trying to remember what never happened? Now to the ego, this is blasphemy. It's going to go, how dare you? You insult us. This is part of our culture. It's part of our heritage, all of this kind of stuff. But then I would say to those people, you'll never be free. You'll never be free of that pain and that trauma. You'll keep it going for generations, hundreds of years. There'll still be a story being told. And there'll still be the anger and the resentment towards people who are long gone, towards a whole bunch of people who just got totally lost. Basically, a whole country got lost and went down a rabbit hole of the ego. And they went mad for a couple of decades for that to happen. But that's over. It's long past. So why dwell on it? Why hold that? And allow that hurt and that pain and that negativity to come into your mind again. It doesn't make any sense when you could be totally free of it. In fact, that's what the Holy Spirit is saying. The whole situation is for. It's for that, for freeing your mind completely, for the at-one-ment. That's why the Holocaust happened. That's why any trauma happens. It happens for your best interests. Most people go, the Holocaust happened for my best interests. Whoa. Like, what are you saying? Are you crazy? But just ask Viktor Frankl. He'll say, yeah, that happened for me. To help me to heal and release and find my true self. So there are no exceptions. That's the whole point to this. No exceptions at all. You have to apply it completely to every situation, no matter how difficult, painful, traumatic, horrible, horrific, barbaric. I mean, the Nazis took it to another level. It was like systemized cruelty on another level, but it remains the same. It's still illusion, and it can still be let go of. Because if you make an exception of that, then you make an exception, period, and then the ego's in business. Oh, well, that's unforgivable because, it was so horrific. No, it's all illusion. There's no hierarchy of illusions. They are all illusory. Whether it's, the Holocaust or someone just cutting you off in traffic, or, cutting your finger, or, whatever the trauma is, there's no hierarchy. It's all the same. It's all just a lack of love, which can be healed by letting it go and allowing love to come in. Which then allows step 10, forgive and release completely. It's a complete healing and release of the idea of separation, because that's what's behind this all. So step 10 is like sealing the deal and saying it's forgiven or released completely, and we are one. Again, in my mind, in my perception, that oneness is restored. I no longer see this other person or people as separate from me. That's the final outcome of the perception of forgiveness. Okay, so number 10, let's read that. Who wants to read number 10? Is Christine there? Christine's probably still out. Sally is, so Susie maybe? Or who? No, you just read. So it's Elaine.
Forgive and release completely. Say to yourself that you have totally forgiven or let go of the whole situation, the people involved in the situation, and yourself for all your thoughts, words, actions related to the situation, that it has been dissolved into the nothingness it always was, and you and everyone else involved has been healed through your forgiveness. Say to yourself as an affirmation of this, I forgive you, name names, and I am forgiven completely. All is forgiven and released. We always are, have been, and will be one self, and so I love you unconditionally as myself.
So it's kind of sealing the deal, saying, okay, because remember, the only point of all this drama that the ego's created is to be separate. That's all it wants, for you to be a separate self in your mind. So the outcome of the healing is oneness, is a return to this idea of oneness and the acknowledgement that we are still one. And having been through the process, and really, if you really felt the gratitude, then this should be a natural perception. It should be quite easy at this point to see this, even with someone like a Hitler. Because you just look beyond the character, the dream. That wasn't really him. That was just a false self masquerading based on this insane thought system, which possessed the mind and just used that mind to wreak havoc and destruction. So it's a good lesson in what not to do. The Hitlers of the world serve us because it's like, don't go down that road. It's not a good idea. And you see it demonstrated so clearly. So you forgive Hitler, which restores your mind to oneness with him and everyone else, or you don't. You remain separated. It says if you can't forgive Hitler, you can't forgive it all. It has to be all-encompassing, radical. And most people go, that's way too radical, but that's what this means. Radical means go to the very root of the ego in your mind and root it out, using this process. Okay, so any thoughts on number 10?
It's very clear.
Is my mic working now?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, very good. Very good. Yay.
Welcome back.
Can I tell you a little story?
Yeah.
So when I couldn't speak, you said, Sally can't speak. I went, oh, that's a key phrase from my childhood. So I've been doing some clearing and I've cleared it all. And now I feel like I'm a speaker and that I'm more confident to speak, having had that experience. So
Okay.
that's fabulous.
Yeah. It was all happening for you, for your best interest.
Exactly. Yeah.
Meant to be.
And I'd have never have cleared on being a speaker if that hadn't have happened. Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah. So the mic not working is all part of the at-one-ment process.
Yeah.
Is how this Course in Miracles and this teaching is teaching us to interpret everything. It's all happening for this process. Especially when things go wrong. When things go wrong, it's happening for you. That's the whole point. Because there's an opportunity now to clear something, to let go of something that was a block to awareness of love's presence. And it's just, it requires a lot of training. It says it takes great willings, it takes a lot of learning to know this in all circumstances. It doesn't matter what's happening. Oh, this is happening for me. It's all helpful. That takes a lot of learning. That's why we practice. Okay, it's all helpful. So if you're getting a challenge, difficulty in your life, you go, okay, well, it's happening for me. What's there to learn from this? That reframes your perspective. You go out of resistance and you move into, okay, well, there's some learning to be had. And the learning is always to let go of what's false. That's the learning. It's a very simple lesson, always. Let go of what's false and accept what's true. Which is what the letting go of forgiveness process is all about. So it's actually a very, very simple teaching, but you need to apply it rigorously. The reason why the 10 steps are there is because it's a rigor, there's a discipline to the process. You go through it and you don't skip steps. If you just skip and you try and go to appreciate the perfection before you've gone through the previous 7, you probably struggle. Because it's a process that you need to work through. In the same way as we were talking about the course, the 6 weeks, you got to go through the steps. You can't get to the turnaround and flipping your flop and your higher purpose if you haven't gone through the name of your game. It's a process of unfolding. So, yeah, this is a process that can help you to process and deal with whatever. It's industrial strength, whatever the trauma is in your life. You can pick the worst possible, the worst thing that's happened. You can process it through this. And if you keep doing it, you should get to a point where you really feel this. All is forgiven and released. We are one. And you restore your mind to that oneness, which is the final outcome of the situation. That's the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation. Once you've done that, and you really feel that, and you believe it, and you know it in your heart, then forgiveness is done. The healing is done. And the situation is healed, so it's unlikely to recur then. Okay, that's been erased. It's not something needs to preoccupy your mind anymore.
I found just lately feeling the emotions really powerful. I've had quite a few experiences on this 6-week course where I've been able to go to traumas in childhood that I thought I'd dealt with, I thought I'd accessed, I thought I'd processed them, but they'd keep little visions or memories of them would pop up. And just lately, I've been really able to go to those places and really feel them. And then they dissolve when they go. It's quite beautiful. And it's amazing how long it's taken me to be able to really feel those moments that I'd numbed out. Yeah, fascinating.
So you see, you know, how it works. When you go deeply into the pain and you already feel it, but you're doing it within a conscious process like this, that you know what you're doing, it's hugely powerful because it releases the trauma. It's like a release and then a letting go. But if you deny it, which you've been doing your whole life, then it remains. It's still there in the subconscious. You haven't really gone in and cleaned it out.
And what I find interesting is, I mean, I knew this way ago, but, you know, it's putting it into action, isn't it? That the actual thing that we stop ourselves from feeling is more the fear of feeling it. It's like we have a moment in life where we can't process our emotions, and we kind of, this is trauma, isn't it? It kind of freezes that moment in time. And what was I going to say? It freezes the moment in time. And then when you actually do allow yourself to feel it, it's not anything bad there at all. That's what, you know, I find so interesting. You know, you avoid it and you avoid it and you put it away and you can't go there because that's the old pattern of how it felt at the time. But as an adult now, and when you actually do feel it, like I felt one today about something that happened, and it's like when I got there, it was just love. There was nothing else to process. So yeah, it's fascinating. I love it.
Remember, it's an illusion. The ego spun a grand illusion and said, this is very scary, this is emotional, you don't want to go there, you know, there be dragons, don't go there, whatever you do, stay away. So then it keeps people, you know, distracted on the perceptual level. But actually those emotions are just emotions. Like, so it's a feeling. It arises, it passes away. It's a temporary sensation in the body. You know, no one ever died from emotions. They just come and they go. So what are you really scared about? Just allow it to process through. You know, the mind training we're doing, just observing thought and observing emotion is that's why we do it. So you can just observe without being caught up in it. And there's nothing terribly scary about it. You can just allow them to come, and then they dissipate, they pass away. You feel it. Don't do anything about it. If it's a very intense emotion, just sit with it. You're like, okay, I'm just going to sit and let it process through.
Sometimes it's to do with somebody else, though, isn't it? Because if we spent decades avoiding it, it's easier when somebody else is just sitting with you.
Yeah. It says, okay, we're going through this together. You know, I'll take you through it. And there's no like, oh, well, now, you know, if they're a good coach or facilitator, they're not going to let you off the hook. They're going to say, right, we're going through this. I want to, and you might go kicking and screaming and, oh, I don't want to. And they pull you through it. And then you come out the other side. It's like, oh, you know, what a relief. I remember once my dad, it was kind of like this, I had this thorn that had gone into my hand. And it had been like this whole drama and we couldn't get it out. And I was like whinging, and you know, my mom was like trying to be gentle, and it was like it had gone on for days. And I remember he just took me, grabbed me, got me on his lap. He was like, right. And I was like, what you do? I was freaking out. I was like, and he just popped it out, you know, because he just, and I was like, oh, it's gone. Then I was really grateful. I was like, oh, actually, that was great. I'm so glad he did that, because the drama was over. It just needed to be like, okay, we're sorting it out. We're doing this. So it's kind of like that with healing. It's like, okay, you know, it might feel terrible at the time. Someone's like grabbing you and saying, I'm not ready to go there. But actually, when they've done it, you're very grateful, because you're like, oh, you know, the thing has popped out, and it's actually, there's a healing now. And so good coach or facilitator can go there and say, okay, you know, I'm not going to listen to your ego. I will do what's for your highest good, even though you don't think so right now. I know that, you know, we can go through this process. It's going to be for your highest good. and obviously all guided by the Holy Spirit. You have to really tap in and listen, because you don't want to do things that are not forcing people to do things that they aren't ready for. But that's the intuition, to be guided. So what's actually good for people. And it's usually, again, these kinds of processes, it's almost always going to be good for someone to go through it and do it, because it's going to release them. If they hear and they've arrived, in whatever session, one-on-one or group session, and they're ready for it, it would help them. Okay, so that's the 10-step process. Any thoughts, comments, questions on the process, how it works, how to do it? So you could read this. You just read it and do it in your own mind. That's step by step. So you could do it in a meditation. It's in the 10-step letting go meditation that's incorporated into every email and into the guided letting go theta meditations. And you can do it in a worksheet as well. So if you go to the next, there we go. So if you go down here, guided letting go theta meditation. So it's incorporated in there. It's in the 40-minute one, the 30-minute one, and there's just a pure 10-step letting go process only. So there's a number of ways you can do it in a meditation. And then you can also work through it in writing. So there's this written process where you can actually write it down. So there's a catharsis in writing, and it'll make you go deeper into the process, spend more time on it. So if something's really troubling you, you can do that. And you could also book a one-on-one with me, and I'll take you through it. So if you really want to, if something's really troubling you and it's not shifting, then that could work as well. So any questions on the process, how to use it? So I'd recommend, as part of this course, do this 10-step letting go process in writing at least once on something, and pick an issue that's quite big for you, like a past trauma or something that's really plaguing you now, and actually work through it in writing and see what happens. Because it'll give you a taste of the process, and you can use this regularly. I know John uses this quite a lot. Whenever he's got something that's come up, he does the written 10-step process, and it works quite well for him. So you just follow the instructions. I've basically taken what we've just read, and I said, well, write your thoughts about how and why the situation is perfect, despite its apparent imperfection, down. If you need more space, you can just take a notebook or piece of paper and write more if a few lines isn't enough. And really let it out. It's a cathartic. The writing is a releasing the emotion that's often been repressed.
Often the biggest step is to actually start doing it, isn't it? Like to actually print it out or get on it and go, right, I'm going to do it.
Well, that's why the advantage of booking a one-on-one is like, okay, I've booked it in, I'm allocating the time, I'm paying for it. Okay, whatever, we're going through this. That's because it's accountability. It's like, okay, then I'll do it. Otherwise, well, I'll get to it. I'm busy. I haven't printed it out. I haven't got myself organized. The course comes and goes, and I never do it. So, anyone listening here or on recording, if you really want to be taken through it, we can book a one-on-one. Just probably next week. I'm quite busy this week, but and it's an alternative. And there's also the instrument for peace. So I think, if you did both, you took it through both of those. I can't see the ego being able to sustain. That's like a double whammy of notes. Instrument for peace, and then the right hook that knocks it out is the 10-step process. I can't see anything could sustain, no matter what the trauma is. If you do those two processes thoroughly. Okay, so any other questions, comments on 10-step process? It's there for you in your course manual, starting on page, the written one is starting on page 30-something, 35. So pages 35 to 39, I think. Yeah, 35 to 39. Print that out, and so it's all in there. At some point, I might try and get this into a fillable PDF, but at the moment, it's just print it and write it. I could actually send it to you in Word if you want to. If you want to type it on your computer, yeah, I can send it to you in Word. So just let me know. I don't mind doing that. So then you can actually type into the document. All right. I think it's quite nice to handwrite it. Actually, it seems to work quite well with these sorts of processes. What do you think?
I like handwriting. There's some connections in there between the hand.
That seems to. So I'd encourage you to print it out and actually handwrite it or type it.
Would you mind sending me the Word doc of it, though? That would be nice to have.
No problem. I'll do that. Okay, so is it okay on Telegram or on email?
Email would be best.
Yeah, no problem.
Whatever's easy.
So, yeah, it's fine. Email, can do email. So any other comments, questions? Elaine, Christine's still there?
Yeah, no, all good.
Okay.
Out, yeah.
So good session. Let's do the if you're okay for the having a look at the quote and the lesson, then we'll do that now.
Yeah.
Close it with the meditation. Everyone okay to go for another yeah, maybe half an hour to an hour probably, including the meditation.
I've got half an hour.
Half an hour, okay. Elaine?
Yep, no, I'm okay. I
Good.
might be joining late tonight because I'm got an appointment.
Well, the session tonight's going to start at 7.
Yeah, so it's going to be about 8.
Right, okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, join us when you can.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's go to today's teaching. Okay, so waiting of broken hearts is the doorway to God. Rumi, nice quote. Good one to remember in challenging times when everything seems to be falling apart. You feel like your heart is breaking. You want to wail rather than experience the love, peace, and joy that are your true nature. Exactly what we said. You know, your worst trauma is happening for you. This is the doorway to God, which is your own awareness, own true awareness. So breakdown usually precedes breakthrough on the hero's journey, transformation. So often there's a breakdown, things aren't working, your existing expectations are challenged, you're forced out of your comfort zone, and then you can really transform your beliefs about who you are and what life is really for. So that crisis is necessary. The breakdown is necessary for the breakthrough into another level of awareness. So there's another recorded session here for you, in which we talked about things like suppression of anger. We talked about physical problems that can come on this journey. There was some miracles that were shared. We talked about the special function again, and then integral theory, which we've been through, and helped them Bailey get clarity on their higher purpose. So some interesting stuff from another group. I know Susie said she really enjoys these, so if you've got time, you have a listen. You can also download the podcast and just listen while you on audio while you're out walking, doing anything like that. So just a little bit of housekeeping on exercises 8 and 9. If you haven't completed those to your satisfaction, then do that. Finish those off. Make sure you've got your blueprint, 7 to 10 values that are quite tight. You're happy with them. You think they're going to serve you at least for the next, say, 6 months to a year. They can always change. Again, if you need, any help or guidance, join we don't really have time in the session, but then book a one-on-one with me, and I'll go through it with you and give you some feedback on those. And then exercise 9 is the higher purpose. I think everyone's got their higher purpose. So that statement, you want to just say that as an affirmation out loud every morning to yourself. So you're programming the quantum field by doing that. And then start, if you haven't taken any action on your higher purpose, then do that. Because the longer you wait, the less likely you are to do anything about it. So I know Sally said she'd done something. Elaine, did you do anything about your higher purpose over the last 24 hours?
I haven't had a real sort of in-depth, just a skim over, so I do need to go over that more in depth, yes.
Well, it's about taking some action. So, okay, what could you do to live that purpose? Just a small action. So it could be doing some research, it could be sending an email to someone, it could be making a phone call, whatever. Whatever you feel inspired.
Yeah, no, I haven't actually done anything as yet, no. I should really do it in 24 hours, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Okay, so it's been 24 hours. So, yeah. Well, when did you get it? Was it yesterday? So, okay. So to make a note to do something this afternoon. Even if it's small.
Yeah, you mean, like mine was for, rather than working with the body, to work with the mind.
Yeah. So what's the inspired action you could take? Well, maybe you just start doing some research. Maybe you think of a name. So what would you call yourself? That's a good starting point. So maybe you rebrand yourself and you call yourself, Mind Body Healing, or, come up with a name. And then look for a domain name. Say, well, maybe there's a domain that I could get. So these are small actions you take.
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah, because I've already got a website and all that stuff. So I would always just ask the lad to put that mind bit in. Yeah.
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 So what would be your new brand? Maybe you want to have a new logo, maybe a new domain. These are things you can start looking at. Do a bit of research on domain names, see what's available. So you're taking some action towards it.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at it deeply, that is, it's one of my goals, but it's not the most important. I'm a bit like Christina. I really just want to awaken. That's my goal. Yeah, but I appreciate
but to awaken, this is your process of awakening. You see, this is your atonement process.
Yeah.
So this is how you awaken. You do the process. You follow your higher purpose. That is exactly the quickest way to awaken. Right, so it's not like, oh, well, I sort of do that and it's not awakening. No, it's absolutely integral to your awakening to do it.
Yeah, I've got you step by step.
So it's integrated.
Yeah.
Don't see it as something apart from your awakening. It's like, to awaken, you need to learn these lessons, and you learn these lessons in practice by actually doing stuff.
Right. Yeah, I've got you. It's a process rather than rushing into.
Yeah, that's how you learn. Otherwise, it's, theoretically, I want to awaken, but I don't actually change anything. I don't go out of my comfort zone. Well, how am I going to awaken?
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah,
You get it.
Yeah.
So it's actually doing it is your awakening process. If you avoid doing it and you kid yourself that you're awakening, then you're fooling yourself.
I've got you.
Because actually, you're just honoring. You're staying in your comfort zone.
Of course.
If we look at this hero's journey, remember, you've got to go outside of the comfort zone into the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's not a theoretical exercise. That's actually experiencing that.
Doing it.
Going outside of your comfort zone means going into areas that you're not familiar with, that are unknown. So it's something new like this, doing stuff you haven't done before. That's what tests you, because then you get the trials and the failure and the difficulties are exactly what you need to overcome to finally collapse the ego and atone.
Got you. Yeah. Yeah. There's a few things that I need to do. Yes. Yeah.
So Neo couldn't awaken. Imagine if Neo had said, no, I don't actually need to go and go back into the matrix and do anything. I'll just do it all mentally. I'll just sit in the ship and I'll do it all in my mind.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have had the awakening. He had to experience it. He had to go through the trials and the temptations and the failure and the challenge of actually living out the dream, even though it was a dream, to ultimately allow him to collapse the ego and to awaken. If he just sat in the ship and said, no, I'm going to do this all in my mind, it wouldn't have happened.
I've got you. Yeah. No, I appreciate
Get
that.
it?
Yes.
So it's absolutely integral to your. So whenever you take a step, towards your higher purpose, you are taking a step towards your atonement, towards your awakening.
Yeah.
It's the same journey. Don't see it as something separate. You get that. It's very important that you see that.
I do. Yes. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's because we all want to stay in our comfort zone and just read it, and I get you.
I want to awaken, but I don't want to go out of my comfort zone. Well, how's that going to work?
I know. Yeah, no, it's quite
not going to work. You stay in the normal world. You stay in your existing perception. You don't challenge that. Well, that's not awakening. That's still being asleep.
Yeah.
If you really want to awaken, I mean, there's a hero's journey. You got to walk the talk and experience. Your life is the experience. It gives you the lessons that then help you to let go of your ego and ultimately come to the realization of who you are. But it's a journey. Yeah, and that's the most fulfilling, inspiring journey that you can take in your life. That's why you came, is to experience that journey of awakening. So don't sabotage by saying, no, well, I just want awakening. No. You just want awakening, but this is how it works. You've got to come here and experience the experiences of Elaine doing this life with the Holy Spirit's guidance.
Of course. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah, of course.
Good. Just remember that.
Yeah.
Because it'll say to you, no, you can. It's fine. You can just do it. Do it all in your mind. Don't actually take any action.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yes. Yeah.
And this is a path. Yes, was saying to us, there's a Course in Miracles. So it's a path of changing your mind and then seeing the results and acting. He's saying it needs your hands and your eyes and your ears and your feet. And it needs your willingness, the one needs all of this.
Does that include sort of challenges, like, say, for example, I maybe would like to travel on my own in some, different country or whatever? Does that include that? Is that the same? Whereas normally I would be, no, don't fancy.
If you feel inspired to, and you feel called to, and there's an inspiration, then yes, because that's going to test you.
It is.
You're going to go out. You're like, well, I'm so enlightened. Then you go out on a limb, on traveling on your own in a country, and you get some challenges, and you find the fear coming up, and you find you panicking, and you're actually not so able to cope. Well, that's the test, isn't it? You're testing yourself. Okay, well, how deep does my enlightenment really go?
Right.
Very easy to stay and I'm enlightened. I'm in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
In my normal world, and everything's under, pretty much under control. And okay, well, go outside of that and push into areas where it's very uncomfortable, and then see how you react.
Yeah, I appreciate that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's then you see, okay, well, there's still more work to be done. Definitely.
Right.
So yeah, it's all part of the process. Okay, so let's have a look at today's lesson then. Oh, 3 modalities of doing. I didn't get to that. So 3 modalities of doing, Awaken Doing, is a great video, and there's an article as well that you can read on that. And just briefly, the 3 modalities of Awaken Doing are acceptance at the base level. So it's saying, well, if you can't accept in a non-resistant way, then you're in resistance. Then there's ego. So something happens and it's not nice, but okay, I can just accept it and I can get on and do what I need to do. I'm not in resistance. So that's level 1 of conscious doing. Level 2 is enjoyment. So I'm actually actively enjoying the process. I enjoy this, whatever the activity is, the process of it. And that's not hard. It's quite effortless. So that's kind of the flow. Enjoyment and flow go hand in hand. You're in a flow state then. And then the final third level is enthusiasm. You're saying, you can, when you can, you have an outcome that you're working towards, but you don't lose sight of the joy in the process. It's like, the analogy would be, I'm climbing a mountain. There's going to be a great view at the top. I enjoy the climb, but there's just this added element of, wow, I'm going somewhere and it's going to be great when I get to the top. So there's an element of enthusiasm that takes it to another level. Entheos, enthusiasm comes from the root word entheos, which means God in you in Greek. So it's kind of a higher purpose. This is the enthusiasm. If your higher purpose really inspires you, that higher purpose statement, then you can have enthusiasm, because it's like it's taking you in a direction. So you enjoy the process, but the higher purpose statement adds the element of enthusiasm to take it to another level. So I'd encourage you to explore that. So it's not just a theory, it's actually happening in your experience. Can you transition from just acceptance to enjoyment? Or if you actively enjoy the work you do, can you transition it into enthusiasm by really applying your higher purpose to it? Because your higher purpose is to awaken, So I'm going to awaken, I'm going to ultimate enlightenment. That's my purpose. So now I have the enthusiasm of that, ultimate goal that is now infusing all of my present moment activities. So I have joy in the process, but actually there's this higher enthusiasm because, wow, this is actually the whole deal. I'm going home. Entheos, God in me. And I'd argue the only genuine enthusiasm would be something that's in alignment with that oneness. If it's an ego goal, you can't have true enthusiasm. It would have to be aligned with the spirit. It should be about taking you and others home. Okay, so 3 modalities of awake and doing. You can go and explore that. And that brings us to our mind training lesson for today, which is lesson 30. So who wants to read the lesson in its original and alternative forms?
I will. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. Love is in everything I see because love is in my mind.
Definitely changes it. You put love in there. It's a different energy, isn't it? Love is in my mind. It's not something outside of me. It's something within me. That's what the lesson's saying. It's in everything I see because love is in my mind and I'm seeing as I am. My perception is completely influenced by who I believe I am. So what I see is now a direct result of what's in my mind. It's making that connection between seeing and thoughts again. Okay, so number 1, if you can read that, Sally.
The idea for today is the springboard for vision. From this idea, the world will open up before you and you will perceive what you have never perceived before, nor will what you perceived before be even faintly visible to you.
Okay, so it's quite a high standard. He's saying, okay, this is completely game changing. If you really get this idea, then your perception of the world changes. And the old perception is no longer there. Won't be even faintly visible to you. So he's talking about a moment of insight. This would be a vision. People say they have, vision of God. you're still in perception, but the it's an inspired vision. As Sue mentioned, she had an experience a few weeks ago when she just started the course, and she just saw everything differently. It was like, wow, and I've never seen that before. So that's the kind of experience he's referring to. They call it a moment of satori in the East. It's like a moment of insight. It's not a revelation because you're still in time and you're still perceiving, but the perception is very different from your normal perception, which is why I'm saying it's not the same as before, nor what you perceived before be even faintly visible to you.
I had something like that happen on the call last night. You were talking, explaining something, and yeah, it was such a strange thing. It's like it wasn't a thought. I didn't think, oh, I understand what you're saying. I kind of saw it in front of me, or I don't know. It changed in my perception anyway.
Yeah. It's difficult to explain these things because it's internal, but you see what he means. You have a moment like that, and it really does change your perception. And in that moment, you might slip back again. The ego can come back. But in that moment, what you perceived before will not be even faintly visible to you because it's gone. You're seeing something different in that moment. Okay, so then read the idea for today. This is courtesy of Elaine. Thank you again, Elaine, for sending these.
The idea for today is the springboard for vision. We are able to see God in things because we can see his purpose in them. From this idea, will the world open up before you, and you will look upon it and see in it what you have never seen before, nor will what you saw before be even faintly visible to you. What will we see in everything? God's purpose. Everything exists to help me reach him. What will we no longer see? Enemy's purpose. Everything exists to meet its needs.
So that they're the two purposes. You can't reconcile it. Everything exists to help me reach God, transcend the illusion, go back home to ultimate reality. Or enemy, ego, separate self's purpose. Everything exists to meet its needs. So it's all about the separate self and its needs and desires and wants, and that's why the world exists. The one is completely self-centered. Imagine believing everything exists to meet my needs. How childish. But that's what the ego has told us. Everything exists to help me reach him. Okay, so this is all learning. That's what this is really about. This is a school for me to learn my lessons and help me reach at one moment. Okay, so moving on to number 2. Elaine, if you can read number 2 for us.
Today, we are trying to use a new kind of projection. We are not attempting to get rid of what we do not like by seeing it outside. Instead, we are trying to see in the world what is in our minds, and what we want to recognize is there. Thus, we are trying to join with what we see rather than keeping it apart from us. That is the fundamental difference between vision and the way you see. Oh, do you want me to read the alternative?
Yeah.
The alternative. Today we're trying to use a new kind of projection. We are not attempting to get rid of what we do not like by perceiving it outside. Instead, we are trying to perceive in the world what is in our minds, and what we want to recognize is there. Thus, we're trying to join with what we perceive rather than keeping it apart from us. That is the fundamental difference between vision and the way you perceive.
Okay, so you understand what he's saying? A new kind of projection.
Yeah.
And we're trying to perceive in the world what is in our minds. we want to recognize is there. So it's actually, he puts a quote, projection. It's actually extension, this process, extending your love into the world. You're seeing what's in your mind in the external world. So we're trying to join with what we perceive rather than keeping it apart from us. So Sally, maybe you want to explain your insights around this in the sharing. Elaine wasn't there to start with.
So normally I see it as the outside world shows me what's wrong with me, what's wrong with Sally. But with this lesson, it made me realize that the truth is that I am love. So now I'm looking around me for love, that I can now extend love everywhere. So I'm looking for it. Is that the phrase? I'm willing to see it in my projection when I wasn't even looking before, so I wouldn't have found it, would I? I was only looking for things that weren't right. So that was quite relevant for me.
Okay, thank you. That's well explained.
So that's quite a profound transformation, because instead of looking for the error, you're looking for the truth, and you see what you want to see. If you keep looking for error, you keep finding error. That's how it works. And you'll never be able to fix those errors as long as you don't go to this perception of, well, actually I see love everywhere. You have to go, into the loving awareness to heal anything. So this is a very profound lesson. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. Right. So it's out there seemingly because it's in here. It's making a direct connection between the quadrants. We go to integral model. You see interior, exterior quadrant. This is what he's really talking about here. It's a lesson in this. Right. God is in my mind, the I subjective, identified with my true self, experiencing the I am presence, love, peace, and joy. And now that will help me to see, because perception is an internal matter, internal affair based on my self-concept. That will help me to see in the external world this reflected. In the same way as the false beliefs of the ego, the idea that you're a separate self and you're guilty will enable you to see that in the world. So it's a direct reversal of the thought system of the ego that believes falsely and then projects. He's saying a new kind of projection, which is actually what he calls extension later on in the course. It's an extension of your mind. You identify with the true self, the I am love, and then that is extended through your perception into the world. And you see this in everyone and everything because that's what's in your mind. It's totally logical. And remember, our name for God is, full name is pure formless awareness of perfect love. So pure formless awareness of perfect love is in my mind. And so it's in everything I see. Because I'm seeing with my mind. So if I have pure formless awareness in my mind, and my mind is responsible for perception, I must then perceive pure formless awareness, seemingly outside of myself, because that's what I'm perceiving with.
So once I'm in that state, I'll no longer see, people behaving badly, and I will no longer see that, or you will still see that.
You don't perceive it. So your body's eyes see them doing whatever, the action. That's not going to change. But how you perceive it is how you interpret it.
Okay.
So you wouldn't perceive that, they are bad, they're wrong. You wouldn't get angry. You're not going to get upset. There's no negative. You just perceive with love. And you go, well, they're one with me. They've just lost their way. The Holy Spirit would say they lost their way, but they are still one.
Right.
And really feel that. So even if someone's doing bad stuff, you can still feel the love. That's unconditional love then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not based on what they do in the dream world.
And remembering it's a dream, isn't it? That if you see something like a dead animal or somebody fighting or something, just to remind yourself in that moment, it's an illusion, it's a dream, it's not real.
Yes.
What I'm seeing is not true.
Yeah.
It's like the cancel button, isn't it? Delete, delete, delete.
Yeah. Exactly. this isn't true. And then you open the way for the dream to change, the circumstances change. You do a correction like that. And it's just so interesting how that happens very quickly. Often it just changes. I had a situation on Sunday. It was like, okay, I just said the lesson, 10 minutes. I was just like, above all else, I'm determined to see things differently, above all, over and over. And it corrected. And, it's, the situation was better after that. It resolved in quite a miraculous way, actually. So just remembering, when the chips are down and the situation's like, I was going, oh, this is, well, it's the whole day is going pear-shaped. So, oh no, this is happening for me. This is a lesson. Okay, remember to then, apply the lesson for the day.
Yeah.
What I liked was the one where you said, when you said, it's not true, and it's still not true, and it's still not true, because the tendency is it's not true, but it carries on playing out like a film, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's sounds quite playful to then say, still not true.
Not true. Yeah, you still.
That's good.
Yeah, and so it's just the absolute denial. The ego is specialized in denying the truth. So you must now deny the denial of the truth in order to get back to truth.
Yeah.
And it's very persistent in its denial. So you must be very persistent in your denial of the denial. You get it? I mean, it's
mind-boggling.
Yeah, well, the ego is the denial of the truth. So you must deny the denial. That's what forgiveness is. And as persistent as the ego is, I mean, it's a very persistent thought system. You have to be more persistent in your denial of the denial of truth in order to get back to the truth.
I wish Lynn was on the call. She'd have gone, what?
She'd have gone, what? Deny that? No, you're blowing my mind now. But Lynn's getting it. She's getting it.
Yes.
It's just semantics and.
It's work in progress. It's work in progress.
Yeah. That is completely low. You've denied the truth, so you must deny that denial of the truth in order to get back to the truth. It's completely obvious once you understand what's happened. So you just have to be very persistent. No, it's still not true. And then it comes again. No, you're still not true. It's like, no, cancel. And you just have to be really persistent in it because the ego keeps coming up.
It does,
coming up with its nonsense. No, you're still not true. No, that's not true either. No, that's not true.
And it's when you've got the strong emotions.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, it's the strong emotions that are the ones that you have to cancel out. Yeah.
Record it on your phone, couldn't you, as a voice message? And then when it all kicks off, you just play it back to yourself. It's a dream.
Yeah.
No, still not true. Still not true. Yeah. And you just got to be really, determined to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Because the ego is addicted to the dream. So it's going to try and make it real in your perception because it has to in order to sustain itself. And it does that through thoughts and emotions. Yeah. Strong thought and drama and emotion. It loves that because it's like, oh, now it's all real for you. And you've got caught up in it. And the experience is whatever. And you're getting angry, you're getting frightened, you're feeling guilty, you're furious, all just the whole loves it because then you're real. Right?
I fall into it.
Tells you that you must be real, you must have an identity, you must be separate from pure formless awareness of perfect love because you can experience all of this.
Yeah. Fascinating.
You see, so the whole thing is just a setup to experience this drama over and over. And yes, you're saying, okay, enough. Have you had enough?
Enough drama.
And then we say, yes, enough drama. Okay, all right. Well, then follow me out of the drama. Now I'm gonna help you to clean your mind so that you don't have to experience this drama anymore. While you're here, you still have your life and you live it out, but in a non-dramatic fashion.
Yeah, that's the ideal. Yeah.
So just peace. Peace guiding you and seeing truly, the true vision. A new kind of projection is really extension. And we're trying to see in the world what is in our minds. So the light in our minds, and then we see it reflected in the world. So the diagram says, quite well, we're no longer, do you want to read it? No longer attempt to get rid of what we do not like.
Who? Me or Sally? Me?
Sally's gone.
Oh, Sally's gone, has she? We are no longer attempting to get rid of what we do not like in our minds for our sinfulness by seeing it outside. We are no longer attempting to get rid of what we do not like in our minds, our sinfulness, by seeing it outside. Right.
See how projection works. I don't like what I'm experiencing. I feel sinful and guilty. So I project it out onto someone else, and I say, you're the guilty one. You're the sinful one.
Yeah.
Not me. That's exactly how projection works. Then they're the ones who are guilty. So you're off the hook, and they're the ones who will be punished by God.
I know, I've seen that. Yeah, no.
It's all very childish, but that's the way the ego works.
Yeah, I understand that bit. Yeah.
Everything exists to meet my needs. It's very dark. You've got the splotches. The ego is very limited, contracted. And now we see a sinful brother. We see others as sinful. They're stained with sin and very unholy perception. Very unsatisfying. There's no happiness in this thought system. Okay, and then a new kind of projection. You want to read that? We're trying to see in the world.
Okay. A new kind of projection. We are trying to see in the world what is in our minds, and what we want to recognize is there. Thus, we are trying to join with what we see rather than keeping it apart from us. Thus, we're trying to join what we see rather than keeping it apart from us. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a joining. Remember, forgiveness is all about joining. The purpose is to become one, at one-ment again. So we don't keep it apart, we join, and we see a sinless brother.
Yeah.
We see someone, even if they're behaving in ways that would, seem to be dark spotted, we see them as innocent anyway.
Yeah.
And that's our choice.
Right.
So it's just the reinterpretation. Everything exists to help me reach God. Okay, so even someone attacking me and being, unkind that's happening for me. It's happening to help me to reach God.
Yeah.
To wake up, because I can then let go of my own misperceptions of sin and guilt. By forgiving them, I forgive myself, and I clean my mind. And now I can see the holy vision. I can see them as they really are. A sinless brother. So saying, repeat this idea as often as you can through the day. Repeat it slowly, looking about you, trying to realize that the idea applies to everything you do see now or could see now if we're within the range of your sight. Okay, so it's not just what's physically there in your physical sight, it's everything.
Yeah.
And then he says real vision. You want to read number 4?
Yeah. Real vision is not limited to concepts such as near and far. To help you begin to get used to this idea, try to think of things beyond your present range, as well as those you can actually see as you apply today's idea.
Okay, so think of things that are not actually there. You can't see them. It encompasses everything. Not limited to just what's in front of your body's eyes.
What's in your mind, yeah.
It's a real vision.
Real vision is not only unlimited by space and distance, but it does not depend on the body's eyes at all. The mind is its only source. To aid in helping you to become more accustomed to this idea as well, devote several practice periods to applying today's idea with your eyes closed, using whatever subjects come to mind and looking within rather than without. Today's idea applies equally to both.
So internal, external. I've been doing that anyway. Meditations was an internal aspect and then an external, because it's the same thing. Whether you apply it to the seemingly external world or the world of your mind, he's saying there isn't actually a difference. Okay, so any comments, questions, thoughts on the lesson? Otherwise, we can go into a meditation.
Yeah, go into meditation.
Okay. Just give me a moment. Don't. All right, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting feet shoulder width apart, back straight. Cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clenching the sphincter muscle, locking the energy in, drawing the energy up the spine into your heart center, putting one hand on your heart to connect with your heart space, and drawing it up into the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. So it's a maximal inhale breath. Now just scan your mind. So you're noticing any thoughts, emotions, body sensations going on, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting, any pain, suffering, drama that you're perceiving in any situation. Just breathe into that, breathing in spacious awareness. And just reminding yourself of today's idea, today's lesson, which is God or love isn't everything I see, because God or love is in my mind. So it's in what I perceive, because it's in my mind. Pure formless awareness, perfect love is in my mind, and so I see with my mind, of my body's eyes. So it must be then in what I see. When I exhale on the truth of this, have a sense of letting go of your misperceptions. Just releasing, letting go of the ego's false projections based on false self, some illusion of separation. Wanting to let all that go and wanting to see, wanting to perceive truly, whatever the situation is. And you perceive the light, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love in everyone, in everything. It's the light you see in one of them, is the light you see in all of them. This is your own light, your own awareness, seeing itself in the world, outside of you, seemingly outside. But Yeshua says in the world is one of ideas. So everything's an idea, everything's just a thought. Energy is projected thought. So you're seeing your own thoughts projected outwards. Now choose to see them with happy thoughts. Loving thoughts, kind thoughts. This is what you choose then to perceive in the world. This is how your essence expresses into the world. These are your values. So just exhale on the truth of this. Have a sense of what the exhale extending, letting go all your misperceptions and extending the truth. Feel that extension. Say again, God, perfect love. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is the full name we use for this entity we call God, this idea. That's all it is. So it's the awareness of love. It's loving awareness that underlies all things. That is in everything, because it's in my mind. So perceive it in your mind, know that it's there, connect with it, breathe it in, Feel it in your heart, one hand in your heart center. And draw it up into the crown of your head, pausing, top of the inhale. Scan your mind again. It's clearer, it's lighter, it's freer, then just appreciate that. So your formless awareness of perfect love is in everything I see, everything I perceive, because love, perfect love, pure formless awareness of perfect love, all the same quantum pointers, different pointers to the same thing. Perfect love is in my mind. And then just rest in this love. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about. Just be in this loving awareness. And it shine through you. Imagine you just a light, open, empty conduit of light. Nowhere else to go. And nothing else to do and nothing else to think about. If any thoughts, feelings, images come up, you are at all disturbing to your peace. It's pure awareness, just somehow gets limited or contracted, imposed on by whatever the thought, feeling, or image is. Just notice that. Breathe in. Breathe into heart center. Breathe into your mind. Imagine you breathing in this pure, perfect white light. Steam. And just be willing to let go of all the darkness. Remind yourself, love is in everything I see. This awareness of love, pure formless awareness of perfect love, loving awareness is in everything I see, everything I perceive, because it is in my mind. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is in my mind. Blow it all out. Breeze of your breath. Just surrender into this loving awareness. And just rest in this deep peace and stillness of loving awareness for a couple of minutes of deep silence. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe in and out through your nose, relax, be still. So just gently coming back to an awareness of the body and the breath, senses in the world. And on the count of 3, going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. So scan your mind again, notice any thoughts, emotions, sensations going on in the body. At all negative, limiting in any way, contracted, constricting. And just remind yourself that love is in everything I see. Love is in this person, situation, object, whatever it is. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is in this, whatever it is, name it, because pure formless awareness of perfect love is in everything. In everything I see, everything I perceive is this awareness. With this awareness, it's in this awareness. It's one awareness. There is no separation between perceiver and perceived thing, between subject and object. There is no duality. It's all one. So exhale on the truth of that. Exhale, blow out any of this darkness, blocks the awareness of love's presence, like a black cloud out of your mouth. Smoke leaving you, it's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Just rest here in this peace and stillness for a few moments. Connecting in with it, anchoring the state in. Noticing your weight of your body, pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling. Your hands touching, maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. And notice what you're hearing. In the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very, very still, calm, surrendered state of mind. State beyond delusions. There's only the truth. And so now on the count of 3, open your eyes. So just look around, and we're going to do the exercise in the external aspect, practicing it. So just repeat the idea slowly to yourself as you look around you. Say, love is in everything I see, because love is in my mind. Perfect love is in everything I see, because perfect love is in my mind. If you want to use the whole full name of God, pure, formless awareness of perfect love is in everything I see, because pure, formless awareness, perfect love is in my mind. And just feel how you're feeling as you do that. You should feel calm, peaceful, maybe quite expanded. Recognize that this applies to everything that you can see immediately in your vicinity and everything you can't, so the entire world. Our vision is not limited by space and distance. It applies to everyone and everything. So just anchor the state in. Notice this very present, calm, peaceful, loving state. And noticing that you pay attention to it, you anchor it into your awareness. And set the intention to stay here for the rest of the afternoon and evening. Practice frequently to do that. Yeshua recommends as many practice periods as you can remember to. Only needs to take you a few seconds to remind yourself as you look around that love is in everything I see, because love is in my mind. Or you can listen to the breath breaks. So I've seen there's a 3-minute one, there's an 11-minute one. Or you can follow the instructions that I've given you in your Telegram email message for doing it in under a minute with a bit of breathing. So many options. Just practice well and let the idea really permeate into your awareness. It's a profoundly transformational idea. It can change your perception of the entire world if you allow it to. So practice well and join us again in 3 hours. We're going to do tonight's session at 7 p.m. A little bit later than normal. 7 p.m. UK time. It's 8 p.m. SA time. Sorry, it's 8 p.m. Central European time, French time, and 9 p.m. South African time. We're going to be doing today's reading, which is about the ego's use of guilt. Should be very interesting. So we'll talk about this projection perception and how it uses guilt to perpetuate the dream world. So I look forward to another deep dive into the text this evening, and stay in loving awareness in the meantime. So that brings us to the end of the afternoon session. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thanks, Elaine, Christine, Sally, who joined earlier, Susie, and I'll hopefully see you a bit later for the evening.
Thank you. Great session. Thank
All right.
you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye for now, everyone.